Wow, what's up, guys? I don't know how long it's been. It's been a minute since I've uploaded any kind of podcast episode. Hope you guys are well. Yeah, welcome to Cat Attacks Life, the podcast. If you're on Spotify and iTunes, thank you so much for listening. This episode is gonna be very, I guess it's going to be special. It's been on my mind for a minute, for a long time. I just hadn't had the, I guess, energy or time to put it together. And right now it's 7:30 at night, chilling at my own apartment, sitting here in my office chair, just wanting to put this together. Today we're going to talk about the other side of fear and what that means to me and what that means to you. It's going to be like a personal conversation. If you guys are listening to this right now, just pretend I'm in the room with you, or if we're sitting in the car. I think car conversations are great, but pretend I'm here with you and we're going to talk about this. So fear, being afraid, being scared, the other side of it, jumping off that platform of being comfortable, your comfort zone. What does that mean? What does that all mean? How does it affect us in our everyday lives? How does it affect us in our even the smallest ways, right? When I talk about fear, I always associate it with like some kind of physical response. You get anxious, you get hot, heated, you get, you want to shut down or close off or something like that. You want to run, fight or flight, in whatever way possible that you think about being scared. We could talk about scared, being afraid of like external things, like actual fear of like maybe you're afraid of spiders or maybe you're afraid of snakes, something like that. Or we can talk about the subconscious fear that our minds go through when we want to do something, or when we have this urge to do something, or like an impulse thing, or like you really want to do something, you're not sure how, so you're afraid of jumping from this platform that you've been so comfortable on, and then your next step kind of is making you feel overwhelmed, so then you don't end up taking that step. So things like that is what subconscious fears are. Maybe you do realize it, okay? Maybe you do realize that you're afraid of things, you admit that to yourself. But when was the last time you felt afraid? When was the last time you were scared of doing something new? When was the last time you overcame that fear and found a different feeling on the other side? When was the last time you gave yourself the opportunity to take that leap, to take that risk, and land into a place where you didn't think that this was imaginable? Okay? Small things, big things, doesn't matter what we're talking about here. It could be, the smallest things to somebody else, but the biggest things to the other person. Touching on this subject, and I want to keep my podcast short. I think for a long time I was doing like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour episodes. So this one's just going to be pretty short podcast form, but I wanted to just tap into how you think and make you think. I'm talking for myself. When I talk about fear, I think of social anxiety, and I think of stepping out into the public, or maybe when you're at work saying hi to people, or maybe when you want to say hi to somebody, you kind of get a little anxious, you kind of get afraid, and I wonder why that is. I've been on a really good I guess flow of meeting new people and putting myself out there, saying hi to people when I want to say hi. And like sometimes I won't get that opportunity in a day, maybe that's not meant to be in that day, what have you. But usually for me, I'm not afraid to step up to say hi to somebody that I want to say hi to. So I wonder why, because I have a few friends. I'm not saying all my friends are like this, but I have a few friends that I've met in the past, in the present, and probably going to be in the future, that are afraid of putting themselves out there. And when we talk about this kind of fear of putting your energy out there to another person, I think it comes from a fear of like judgment, and a fear of insecurity, and a fear of like rejection at the same time. Even if it's platonic, even if you go up to say hi to somebody and be like, you know what, we should be friends, you have this like underlying fear that you're not going to be received in the way that you want to be. And that, I feel like that's been trained, you know what I mean, for a long time, is exclusively in like school. When we go to high school, you know, from elementary school, middle school to high school, that fear sets in. It's kind of, you train yourself, and we're in school for a long time, for years. So like going up to people isn't really like a thing you do, and you make friends in the like the most gradual ways of like, you know, you talk about something, you are sitting next to each other in class. That could be the easiest way to get over that fear, but like actively you're not thinking about, oh, I'm going to say hi to people, I'm going to introduce myself to this person. That never happens until you're out of school and you're in the real world, and the real world involves you talking to customers or guests or whatever your job occupation is. So we get trained in school to be afraid of what other people think of us, because, you know, we all have been teased and bullied. If you haven't, you're lying. And that comes from that. You know, you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to be seen as something else. Or you don't want to be, you know, thought of something else, judged by anybody else. And I feel like in school that was happening all the time, right? Some people had it worse than others, but when you come from school into the real world, it kind of follows you in that way. And I could definitely relate. It wasn't until I got into working a job, I got into meeting new people, I got into doing what I wanted to do, surrounding myself with like-minded people, that it made it easy for me to just be the person to initiate a conversation. Sometimes I'm not that person, sometimes I am. You know, I think it's good to have both aspects of that, where you can understand why you're quiet versus why you want to say hi to somebody. And I think that's also very important. So clearly this episode right now is talking about social anxieties and the other side of this. And I feel like I have a good rapport on what it means to find the other side of this. The other side of this fear is definitely stepping into a more confident zone. It's like every single time you get afraid of doing something, you do it, you figure out and you find out that the feeling itself was just a feeling, and the other side of that is not as bad. You know, it's like going for a job interview. You're kind of afraid. You don't want to be rejected, right? It's the same thing. And then on the other side of the interview, when you're finished, when you go home, you're like, wow, that was super easy. Why was I afraid? So things like that. And this is exactly the same thing when you want to go talk to people, right? All my friends now, and if you guys are listening, my friends, hi, how are you guys? I love you. If you're listening right now, have always told me that, you know, I make friends easily, or I go up to people, or like I'm always going to be that person to be outgoing. You know, I have this energy about me that just is so forward. I want to say straightforward, that it is kind of overwhelming for people who aren't used to it. So that comes from like experience and talking to people, meeting new people, and understanding myself, and like understanding where I'm coming from, you know, and also not putting it to the person. I'm not expecting anyone to judge me when I go up to them. You know what I mean? I don't expect that. And if I do, that means that's what I'm looking for, is to be judged or whatever. I don't look for that. When I go up to someone I want to say hi to, yes, there is an anxiety. I do get anxious sometimes, depending on, you know, the situation, but I do get anxious sometimes. When I go up to a person, the last thing on my mind is them judging me. You know, the first thing that comes into my mind is just say hi. You know, I don't think we are conditioned enough, especially these days, especially you know, these kids, younger generations. I sound so old. Guys, I'm turning 26 in like a month. I sound so old. Especially these days when we're so focused on like, you know, being shy, or not even being shy, it's just being closed off, because we're always doing something else or on our phones, or just not knowing how to appropriately approach someone. No one gets taught that, right? No one gets taught that. So when I go up to a person and say hi, the first thing I always think about is just doing it, is just saying it. What would be the outcome of that? What's the consequence of that? Nothing. I mean, consequence sounds like a bad result, but the after part of that is knowing that I can say hi to this person that I wanted to say hi to. It's like overcoming that. That's the first step when you want to, put yourself out there, is just knowing that, like, saying hi isn't a bad thing. If you say hi to somebody and, they say hi back, I think that's the welcome bridge, right? If you say hi to somebody and they don't reciprocate it, then not to be on that bridge. So let's go, It's all about that. It's all about reading a person as well. It's all about reading the situation, reading yourself. So the next step, I guess, it's like a step-by-step process on how to, like, approach someone. Overcoming that awkward, like, icebreaker, right? Because that's the only thing we do learn when we have, like, new opportunities, new job opportunities, new environments. Like, there's always some kind of icebreaker for some reason. It's like, even in school, right? One by one, let's go around the class, stand up, tell me where you're from, what's your name, what you like to do, for one fun fact that we all know that exists. But does that actually help? Depending on where you're at. But in a way, if it's an icebreaker with the person they're going up to, a simple, like, hey, like, I just wanted to say hi because I thought you could be someone cool to be around, or that sounds dumb. Realistically, I would be like, I want to be your friend. How are you doing? Just stuff like that. Small things like that. Small talk is the basis of where you're reading this person, and you shouldn't attach anything at that point. Just wonder how they're doing, ask them what's up, and then you can see from there where it's coming from. But I don't think, like, getting too deep in the first interaction isn't effective. Okay, like, you really have to get to know a person, but that's just the first thing. After that first step, I think it should be gravy. Let's go. But yeah, examples of that. People have a hard time sometimes going up to people and just meeting them and, like, interacting with them, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, we don't get taught to be the initiator. We don't get taught to know how to say hi to people anymore, or just be friendly or personable. Like, these days, I'm a very in the moment type person, and I will do whatever I want to do in the moment, and that includes saying hi to people, and that includes having conversation, includes whatever topic that we're discussing. That's one thing of social anxiety that is the challenge. It's not going to be as extreme for other people. Some people do have this big, fear of going up to someone and talking to them. And that's absolutely okay. And it's that person's responsibility to know that they are feeling this way, and there are things to help them soothe themselves in order to get over this fear. You never have to, like, succumb to social pressures as well. But aside from that, I think that we could be more connected if we just able to give each other that benefit of the doubt, that this person has nothing, they're not going to judge me, they're not going to ridicule me if I say hi, if I say how are you. You just say it because you want to say it, and you leave it at that. You don't hold anything to that. So that's definitely something that I'm on, and comes down to, like, social anxieties. Have you ever been afraid of going up to someone and talking to them? Have you ever wanted to talk to someone? Have you ever just looked at someone and be like, you know what, I want to be your friend? And then that sets in where it's just like, this idea, you know what I mean? This idea is this going to happen? Am I going to be the one to do it? I've had that. I have that currently. So I have it all the time. I think people are so cool. When I see someone, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally want to talk to them. I totally want to get to know them. I don't think that happens a lot. But yeah, that's something to overcome, especially growing up now, being more present, being more here and connected with the people that you're around. Another example of fear that could be troubling you, the next person, whoever's listening, probably going after things that you never thought were possible. Stepping out of your comfort zone is a big thing that comes out of fear. On the other side of that is definitely potential. I think people forget that there is another version of themselves on the other side of fear. Like, there is, when people say there's nothing to be afraid of, it really doesn't help the person who's afraid. The person has to be able to see it before they do jump. But the other side of fear comes this opportunity, right? Something new, something refreshing, something different. And to accept that is one thing, but to understand how that feels is going to take that risk. It's going to need that jump. Okay? There's something that you've always wanted to do and you're afraid to do it. Ask yourself why you're afraid. And talk yourself through that feeling, because sometimes fear is going to stop us from doing a lot of things in our lives, and it could be so overwhelmingly uncomfortable, but it's all how you see it and your perspective on it and where your head's coming from. Okay? Fear into paranoia is actually a cognitive distortion, and it's not real. Okay? It's not real. It's never real. Your physical response could be one thing, but if it's something that you've always wanted to do, or something you wanted to try and see what you're made of, in a sense, going after it, I think that our brain makes up scenarios what could go wrong because it's only known that. So it is definitely perspective and how you see it and how you want to see it. Fear is a big thing that can be debilitating sometimes, and it's really unfortunate when people are afraid of one thing when you know it doesn't exist. Just think about it that way. Okay? If you're afraid of doing something, just know that it's not real. Like I said, that probably won't help you as much until you get to that point, but just remember that your brain makes up scenarios, and it's up to you to control the present, the current state of where you're at, because you are able to do a lot of things. Believe it or not, every single person on this planet, every single person is capable of doing so many great things and being so many great things and understanding how they can actually function on the other side of fear, on the other side of being afraid and being ridiculed or being, taking a risk. It's a lot. It is definitely a lot. It's not a small feat. I think it's definitely a big deal. But it's completely possible, right? It's completely possible. So talk to yourself, ask yourself these questions. These are the hard-hitting questions as to why there is like a delay or a blockage you think that's happening in your life right now. If you feel like there is, let's assess these things. Let's understand where this fear is coming from. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what's going through your mind. And let's step into this other version of yourself, of myself, of everyone listening. Because I think you're definitely capable of doing whatever it is that you want to do on the other side of this. Okay, on the other side of this fear is opportunity to see a new you, and this new you is definitely going to be the right move, the right you, stepping into the next you. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it did. We're almost at the 20-minute mark here, guys, and I will cut this short. I want to try to put more content out for you, including more podcast episodes. So this is one episode. I want to do more for you guys. So don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on Spotify, don't forget to put me on your list and get notified when new episodes are coming out, as well as iTunes too. So check that out, guys. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be there at Cat of Wands. Let me know what you think about this episode. episode, and I will see you, or you'll hear me in the next one. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you guys. See you next time. Bye.